Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new and improved version of Baka. We have new screen capture recording software we're using. We're trying something new, and we'll see how it goes. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, we watch an anime. We come together, we talk about it. And then we turn the discussion over to our audience to let them further discussion into elevated heights not discussed by three idiots. That's the whole premise of the show.
Bakas.
Okay, yeah, right. So we are continuing the anime Dororo. We watched episodes 13 through 24, and to discuss it, I need the help of my co-host. So first off, we have the Geordie LaForge to my Picard, Jeremy. How you doing?
Cool. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. Putting in fences, getting a new job, getting ready for school. It's just been a really, really busy 3 weeks. Oh, yeah. Also had internet out for a whole week.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we had a delay in our publishing, yeah.
Since we moved out here, I've gotten like 5 water outage emails. Each one has lasted between 2 and 5 hours. We had a power outage the other night. Woke up at 1:30 sweating because it was so freaking hot in here because all the AC shut off because the power was out. But it came back on probably around 3. And then the internet was down for like a week. So, loving it.
Yon home! Yay!
That's right.
I look at my lawn, I'm like, I own my own home.
Yeah, I gotta get to know that. Woohoo.
All right. We also have the blind owl to my Deadpool, Jason. How you doing?
Fantastic.
How's the cocaine habit?
Well, never mind. That's inappropriate. Yes. I started soccer with the kid, and this year I'm an official coach. And what was really great about it, so Troy, because you're in a corporate position, are there any like trainings you have to do, like either security or like company policy stuff?
Oh yeah, all the time.
You know how it's like those stupid videos where you got to click it and then like, you know, you have to get through it to get the credit for it. Yeah, to do that for like harassment. It was the most ridiculous stuff on there. It was like, you know, this coach like just absolutely screaming at these kids. It's like, is this harassment? I was like, really? And 3 hours later, I'm still doing this thing. And of course, you can't go forward in the training either because it'll just take you back. And if you mute it, it actually pauses.
Yeah, those things are diabolical, man.
Dude, you have to sit through them. And then, so. But no, it was worth it. I got to coach my first game today, so that was a lot of fun.
Win or loss?
We won. I actually kind of feel bad because we have one kid that his dad's a ex-European player, and so he's phenomenal. And they're all 7 years old, 6 to 7 years old. So it's like watching a beehive of players around the ball. But then this kid takes off with it. I have to pull him every once in a while and go, okay, let's give the other team a chance to score.
Very nice.
That's good sportsmanship.
There's one in every league.
Right.
And my name is Troy, and I watched The Boys on Amazon Prime. It's like their new best series Amazon Prime's ever put out. And it's perfect for someone like me. It's a great deconstruction of Superman. Oh, it's such a good deconstruction of Superman. I loved it so much. The saving the plane from the terrorist scene from the Superman character will stay with me forever when I think about Superman. I will always think of that scene from now on. Huh. But it's also a good deconstruction of like the MCU, like what happens when we worship heroes and give them carte blanche power and do whatever they want. And they're corporate, it's also about corporations, which is kind of odd that it played on Amazon. But also
Fair
just
enough.
some really wacky, over the top humor, some really dark stuff.
When
It was,
Aquaman thinks that fish are people.
yeah, they talked to him. And probably my favorite thing is that whether it was the protagonist or the antagonist, which would be the villains and the superheroes, no one's good, no one's evil. There's shades of gray everywhere. I mean, there's definitely more eviler people, but like even the worst character in there, you're like, yeah, I kind of understand how he got here though, and why he feels this way. And man, it's a good thing Clark was found by Pa and Ma Kent. Thank God.
Hey, and speaking of like odd superhero stuff, I saw an not an article, but like a video on Brightburn, and apparently they're looking at doing like an evil Justice League. Is that right?
Well,
Because I know
at
you
the
saw the
end
movie,
of-
right?
Yeah, at the end where in the basically it's like the credit scene. They
Don't spoil
they
it.
do
I am gonna see it like in a week here. It comes out
Okay.
on Redbox.
Oh, I thought
They-
you already
they-
saw it, Troy.
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
they mention a few things, but
Yeah, because it's not explicitly
very
stated.
much up in the air. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I, like I said, I'm a big fan. Superman's my favorite superhero, and I love deconstructions of him. I'm super excited to see Brightburn. It was just not on the docket for going to the movies yet.
Fair enough.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead then and turn our attention to the second half of this anime we watched, Dororo, and figure out what we thought of it. Let's start with our non-spoiler review section and not spoil anything, and then we'll go into a spoiler section where we can start spoiling stuff.
Thanks, Troy.
Jeremy, what did you think of this half of the show?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Not as much as I liked the first half, but it was still very good.
Jason, how about you?
I really, really enjoyed it. I think I liked it just as much, if not even a little more. The play with the characters, so not to be spoilery, we get some new abilities that allow us to get more insight into our main character, and I think that really enriched the story and character development for him. And as well as we got some really nice insight into the antagonists, and that kind of ended up being my favorite. So
Yeah, in the first half, I complained about it being so episodic. That was kind of my one big thing, and that's still here. But I felt it was done much better, and each arc I felt built on the overarching story much better in this one. Like I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're kind of framing the overarching story versus this tiny little arc and saying, okay, if that's okay, is this okay? If that's okay, is this okay? And I really enjoyed. I actually ended up enjoying some of the more episodic arcs of this one. So I really like this half of the season as well. All right. The new OP and closing. What'd you guys think?
really liked them. I am. I found myself enjoying the ending a little more than the intro. I like the visuals of the intro better, but the visuals of the outro were really good.
Yeah. Same thing for me, except the intro felt a little bit more like a shonen intro, and
Yeah, fair
whereas the first intro, the first intro had a little bit more. I don't know. It seemed like weight to it to me, but this was still a very catchy intro, and the scenes were spectacular, and it was really cool.
Yeah, the initial visual of the cockroaches crawling out of him as a cockroach shadow crawls around him. And then it leads into I can see like the shonen stuff of like, hey, here's a battle and here's some enemies we're gonna see and here's some of that. But the lyrics I thought were really cool too. I think I still like the first OP's song better, but I always read through the lyrics and like, what does that mean? You know, and how they use the play on, Dororo would show up in the intro and how that would change the whole entire tone. Like we're in darkness and bugs and deep darkness, and then it talked about the sun bursting forth skin, and then Dororo pops up, and everything's happy and great, and I really liked that whole concept and how it plays into the rest of the anime. Okay, then we are ready for the spoiler section. So from here on out, we will be reviewing plot points and character details and everything that you would know if you had watched this. So if you have not watched it, it's your decision here. Like, you know what's happening, right? Okay, let's move on. So in the 13th episode, and if you have not listened either to the first podcast of this or watched it, I don't know what's going on. Again, that's your choice. So we're just gonna go. Our main characters, Dororo and Hakimaru, are searching for a new demon to battle. They have left Daigo's land behind and are continuing their quest to return Hakimaru's body parts. So let's talk first about everyone's favorite best girl, Dororo, and how we felt about her this arc.
I don't know. Her character seemed fairly flat. I mean, I like her, and I like her contribution to the story, and I really, really love that they stuck with the they did not have the plucky sidekick comes to save the day kind of thing. That never happened, and I really, really enjoyed that. In fact, she keeps getting into situations she's got to be saved from, which is fairly realistic for having a child along with you. And I like how she contributed to Hakimaru's growth as a character. But she also makes some really interesting moral points near the end. Not sure if they fell, if they stuck the landing on that, but I found it interesting.
Yeah, she seemed very much like the catalyst, just like she was a kind of a way to keep him anchored in the right path, which, like you mentioned with the OP, that's kind of a really obvious thing that they use her for. But she kept her pluckiness to a degree. Yeah, she was fine, but nothing particularly standing out to me.
Do you see a real arc for her, Troy?
The thing that I feel like they wanted to do with her was this whole anti-samurai thing. That was what her dad was all about. And she kept running into characters who were like, the samurai have ruined our lives. We're at the whims of the samurai. We don't get to do anything. And we get to see it a little bit, but they don't really take the time to explore it. Where there's definitely more Hakimaru's story. So, kind of, I do really, really enjoy her relationship with Hakimaru and how that developed across the season. So I definitely is not a character I want to go away or anything. I think she's great. But I would have liked to seen her kind of more exploring that, why are the samurai so bad? And I feel kind of like at the end we just kind of get to here's what we're going to do. Here's my resolution that I just came to because we're at the end of the story and we need it. So.
Yep.
Okay, Hakimaru, what did you guys think of him this time?
He was fantastic. Like I said, him getting his voice, learning about the world, learning what his values were, really was not only interesting to see, but also just a joy to watch him, develop as a character and almost kind of go down the dark side, if you will. Because that's always been a threat looming from the first half was, is he going to come out of the cave as a demon or as a human? So it was really interesting to watch his arc as he, especially in his final battle, which, we'll get into, where he has to decide, are his body parts more important than the lives of the people around him?
I really liked everything about Hakimaru. We talked about how when he got his voice back initially, it wasn't like he just started babbling, and it's still not the case here. But he's definitely opening up more. He's becoming more attached to the world. He's definitely become more attached to Dororo, and I enjoyed watching his arc where he's set on this quest. He's not really here to change. He's like, I know what I want to do. I know what I'm going to do it. He does have to face kind of like, how far will you go in this quest? What is there a line that you're willing to cross, and what will you be if you cross that? But really, he's so sure that what he's doing is right, that he's marching forward, and everyone else is questioning that. Are you right? Are you the whole anime is questioning, are you right in your quest? But the fact that he was so steadfast, and then the anime kind of says, yeah, he was kind of right. He was poor baby, man.
But I think one of the things that I really enjoyed in his steadfastness was his reasoning was very relatable. It's mine. They are mine, and I want them back. And it was very relatable and easy to watch.
Yeah. It was cool watching him get back, especially the moment that he got back his eyes and and he's calling everything pretty. That was funny. But it was very much a sort of a culmination of everything that we'd seen in the arc from the first half that we watched. And this was just kind of, him getting further along the path. I think for me, the big thing was that I always agreed with Hyakkimaru, like 100%. It was very clear to me where I stood in it. And so whenever the anime tried to present that counter story, I was interested when they did a good job of presenting it, but there were times where I didn't think they did such a good job, and I was just like, get through them, Hyakkimaru, just cut through them. Just go. No, I don't even want to hear your counter argument because it sucks. Just go.
Because it sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, Hyakkimaru was really good, but I kind of almost wanted him to succeed faster.
Yeah. One I want to bring back up him and his morality when we reach the story arc where Dororo gets trapped under the rock. Because I thought that was really such an important scene and a real pivotal moment in his decision making, where he kind of goes from, I'm doing this for the right reasons to I'm doing this no matter what reasons. And I do want to dig into those. But we'll go ahead and start in this first episode, which I liked. It was kind of a good reintroduction and getting things back on track from the finale. We still have questions of, why did he kill a demon and nothing happened? We don't really know how the demons work. At one point, a new demon appears and he kills it and he still gets a body part back, but it wouldn't be the demon that took his body part.
Yep. And another point, a demon shows up that helps him, although maybe it's just a ghoul.
Yeah. But it kind of reminded me of your... Actually, it made me think of your theory, Jeremy, from the last episode, that, if you can kill the demon's body, they could still find places to go and stuff like that. I'm not talking about the shark, by the way.
The shark was... I don't know. I'm not too fond of the shark.
We'll get back to the shark. Okay, so...
Jumping?
In this spot.
Jumping the shark.
I like the twist of this episode. So, like I said, they're searching for a monster. We see a woman who's dragging a man behind a waterfall where there's like a Buddha statue with a sword but no face, and the sword drops and cuts the man's face off, and then the statue's like, no, that's not the right face. So the woman has to go out, and so this episode is Dororo and Hyakkimaru running into her. They run into the statue, and she has Dororo's mother's face. Basically, she looks just like him. She takes them in, she feeds them. Turns out she's drugging them. She drags Hyakkimaru to be killed by the statue, and she tells the story of the guy who made the statue. He's like, he wanted to build the best face ever, and the more and more he tried, the worse and worse he got, and he could not figure it out until he died. And then after she drugs, she finishes the story of, I'm that statue maker. When I died, he revived me as a woman, and now I have to keep providing faces to the statue. Which I thought was a cool twist, but it was odd that the statue changed the gender just cause. Yeah.
Easier to seduce men to come up there, I guess.
Maybe because the first guy was like, "You're not my wife. You're not my wife."
Yeah, that was cruel. Oh, that was cruel.
Dororo wakes up and like chases after her, and Hyakkimaru wakes up and has a battle with her and the statue. She ends up giving up. Dororo convinces her to quit, and so the statue just murders her. And then Hakimaru kills the statue.
Or
He
the
doesn't-
statue kind of kills the statue.
Yeah, he like uses its own sword against it or something like that.
Yeah, he moves out of the way.
But what's really important is after this, they go visit a hot spring that Dororo had wanted to visit. And while they're bathing, the blind priest shows up again. And I didn't put him down as a character to talk about because he's really just here for now for exposition to other characters. Like, hey, this guy lost his body parts to demons. Just so you know, that's what's happening here. And to kind of remind us that, hey, that this could go bad. He could turn into a bad guy, everybody. And so the priest, he has a little bit of a, I used to be a samurai. We're not going to talk about it, though.
Till I took an arrow in the knee.
Yeah, that they kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say it too strongly, but I really think they could have done something with him, something interesting. I don't know what his story was in the original, and maybe he was just a side character. Maybe there was more than one, and they wrapped him into one character. I don't know, but yeah, he really kind of became flat this time. He had a few really good moments, though.
Wasn't his name Deus Ex Machina?
They did
There was a certain point.
They did reveal his name actually at one point, and I was like, nope, he's priest. I'm calling him priest.
He's
He's blind priest.
No, it implies more history there, but it's like you didn't bring any of it up, so why should I care at this point?
Yeah. The important thing though, while they're in the hot springs, some other kids that are there notice that on Dororo's back a map appears, and we find out that she has a treasure map on her back that only appears in heat. So I'm not quite sure of the technology for heat-based tattoos in feudal Japan, but
especially because when she got the tattoo, the person who gave it to her just kind of looked at his spear and then looked at her back. And I'm like,
yeah, it's like she doesn't know what's there, and
yeah, like a spear was enough to make it only appear when it's hot.
Right.
Like, I mean, presumably he used some kind of ink. I don't know.
And if it's a tattoo, then like wouldn't that have been extremely painful?
And yeah, she was just a little kid, so maybe as she's grown, it hasn't stretched exactly right, and so maybe it's not the right coordinates.
Pish posh. We do learn that this
We have a
is
story to tell.
the treasure map
Yeah.
to her father's treasure. He had been taking money from the very bandits he was leading to save up a treasure trove, and this is where that money is located. And half the treasure map was on the mother's back, and the other half is on Dororo's. So yeah, and the priest is like, "Now you have choices." And they're like, "What kind of choices?" No, I just say cryptic things. I'm leaving now.
He literally says this, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. Later, he's like, "Wow, you really took that seriously."
And then, so we come to the moth episodes, which, guys, the production quality was like, I got real scared. if it was like a long shot or something, they were basically drawing stick figure Dororo like walking down the field. If it was close-ups, it was still detailed and nice, but then it was so weird.
Yeah, what is it? Hyakimaru is running up this hill in the forest. I moonwalking like forward, which it was the weirdest thing. Like here and then like cut frame and then like legs moving way faster than he should be, like moving up, and then cut here. It's like, okay.
What was awkward is I actually really enjoyed the story, but this is like the one of the few times I'm like, the animation, something's wrong with the animation. What do I do?
What?
Yeah.
Is it buffering?
It starts with a ghost appearing to them, and then a mutant baby troll thing that carries Dororo. They go to a temple that has been burned down, and they find oil, suggesting someone burned it on purpose.
This felt so mushishi.
And then giant baby like needs to be changed and is hungry.
It wants
and
to eat.
Like, yeah.
Which doesn't make sense when we find out what the baby is.
Yeah.
And then the lord of the nearby village shows up, and he's like, "Hey, you guys can like come hang out at my house." My eyes never look in the same direction, but that's okay.
Yeah.
One
But
look at
also,
this dude,
he's
it's like,
human.
no.
But he's a human too. He's not a monster.
He reminded me of a frog. He looked a lot like a frog. His mouth as well was his eyes.
Yeah, one look at him was like, no, don't go with him. You're going with him.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, even they are like, yeah, something is clearly wrong. He's clearly lying, but let's eat his food and stay in his house, and it'll help us figure out the mystery faster.
Well, I mean, Shakimaru has an excuse because he can't see the eyes, so, you know.
Right.
I guess the soul doesn't show that.
I'm just saying the characters do discuss, like, yeah, this guy's clearly not in the
Yeah.
open up. There's clearly
right.
something wrong, but, you know, free room and board. What are we gonna do?
Yep.
So yeah, they spend the night, and while they're spending the night there, they're attacked by a caterpillar demon thing. They fight it, they injure it, or Hakimaru does. When I say they, Dororo like throw rocks and stuff. And then a moth demon shows up to protect it and hits them with dust powder. It's super effective. All I could think was the Pokemon move.
Yes.
When I watched this. Did it ever specify what the powder was doing? Because they say they go wash it off, and they don't fall asleep. They don't get sick.
It just reminded me of normal like moth dust, right? Like if you kill a moth and you get that dust on your whatever you killed it with.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it did. But they're like, we should get this off of us. I was like, oh, it's poison. No. Sleep powder? No.
Is it just itchy?
Wash it off.
It's like fiberglass.
I've seen a lot of anime, and I've never seen a moth dust attack not have an effect. And then we cut back to the Lord, who's talking to the moth, who's a demon woman, and the caterpillars are their babies.
Yeah, I'm still really confused about that because we get to see a bit of history, and the caterpillar babies were there already when the moth, before she ever became his quote-unquote wife. So are they just hers, or are they theirs? I don't know.
Yes.
And also, like, she's so protective of this one, but later there's more than one moth. So, like, they grew into moths, and then they just take off, and she produces more. How much is she like a real moth? That's what I'm wondering.
And is he the one that she's making these moths with?
Exactly.
And if so, like, is he human? Like, that's weird.
And what happens when the spider demon from last season meets up with the moth demon here? Do they get along?
You've gone too far. I realized I walked away from the microphone while you guys are talking, but now you just went way too far.
We jumped the shark.
Oh no.
No,
the shark arc.
That's later. I would say to most of Jeremy's questions, yes.
Just yes. I don't even care
Just
what
yes.
they
Like
just
it.
yes.
Like it, yes.
Yes.
Yes, he made all of them. Yes, they keep popping out. They're just making moth babies every night.
Oh my god.
Okay.
They've got his eyes.
So in the second half, they both kind of do their own separate investigations. Hakimaru and Dororo. Dororo goes around the village, talks to the people. Everyone's super nice, super happy. Everything's great. She finds a secret rice storage area in the forest, and then a trap door, and then she's pushed down to her death.
It felt very Uncanny Valley when she was walking around.
Yeah, like everybody seemed like some kind of weird robotic cult member.
Yeah.
Stepford Wives kind of thing.
Yeah.
But everyone's staring at them too.
Stepford
Right?
workers,
And so, like,
Stepford grandma.
They like offer her food, and she, so glad you're here. And the moment she goes, what about the nun that got the thing burned down? And everyone's like, okay, we gotta go.
Yeah. We're not even gonna pretend and tell you a bad story, a fake story. We're just gonna kill you.
I thought
You
the
know
tower
too
was-
much.
I thought the tower was going to be more important because they're like, hey, look at that tower. And then it was just like, oh, no, it's just a tower. It's fine.
It's a red
Anyway,
herring.
she gets pushed down there, and that's where the caterpillar babies live. And they start chasing her. and she almost dies, except for the mutant baby thing shows up and is actually the spirits of orphans that the village fed to the moth demons, fused into one thing.
Giant baby
Baby
thing.
monster from.
I think this is one of the small criticisms I have for the show, is that they keep putting Dororo in these super high risk danger situations, and something way too convenient or way too extraordinary always saves her. I mean, when they throw her down there, she literally says, "I can't see." It's so dark that like she probably couldn't even see her hand. Like there's just nowhere to go, and all of a sudden she's sprinting at full speed. Where? Into a wall? Like this.
Yeah.
and yeah, so and she's down there for a long time before baby spirits come home to save her. So
Yeah, plus these things spit silk to snare.
Mhm.
So like it just yeah, I think that they should have had the baby show up immediately.
high dexterity.
Yes. Good saving throws.
Yeah.
Right.
Crits.
Crits.
High
Over and
luck.
I'm
over.
about to say crits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Critical dodge.
While this is all going on, Hakimaru talks to the Lord up where he, I assume bangs the moth lady.
On the hill overlooking
On the hill
village.
over the village. Doing this for the village. And basically gets attacked. The Lord's like, yeah, we did horrible stuff, but it was for the village. And Hakimaru's like, don't care. I kill demons, and I'm all out of bubble gum. So the moths pop out, and he has a big fight with them. But what's really interesting is that Dororo pours the oil underneath the village and actually sets it on fire, which draws the moths to attack the village. Because, moths to a flame, right? I'm assuming that was what was going on there.
Yeah, that's exactly what was going on. And yet it was incredibly confusing to me. Like, in the moment, I'm like, what? And then they explain it later. Oh, okay. Because it just didn't make sense. All of a sudden, the tower's lit on fire and a moth just careens into it. And I'm like, what? These aren't moths. They're demons. They think they're, like, eating people. I don't know. Yeah.
But this is like back to that morality thing. This was a microcosm of the greater story, right?
Mhm.
Like appeasing the demons for prosperity. What happens when you slight those demons? Your whole village gets burned down, or your whole region goes up
Right.
in flames.
Which is why I like this, because it also made Dororo see if, she devastates the village. She sees the devastation later. And she's like, did I do the right thing? And Hakimaru's like, I don't care. We killed.
Kill the demon.
Yeah,
Good.
we did the thing. And he kills the main demon and gets his spine back. But she's like,
Oh my god, you say that so casually.
Oh,
Like,
Yeah,
Okay.
can
gets
we
his
back up to
spine
that?
back.
That was a little. Take it back. Like,
all right,
okay,
all right, I'll
that's
come back to my
only
point.
bones?
Let's talk about the spine popping out.
Wait.
I didn't realize what that was at first. I'm like, is he getting an arm? What is that? Wow, okay, so this is how he moves all the joints in the arm. Okay. No, he's still got both prosthetic. That was his spine? What? What was it attached to? What were those strings attached to that he was able to control? Like, none of that makes sense. This is where I go back to the Violet Evergarden thing, Jason. Like, that
Okay.
was one step too far for me for prosthetics,
Okay.
even in a mythological setting. You can't replace the spine.
You also got to remember the central nervous system was already replaced. So that means
Yeah.
that had to grow through that prosthetic, and then a new
How does
spine
that-
came in.
Oh.
Yeah, because I was like, hold on, who did the surgery to install
Yes.
this thing? What?
Chukai.
Oh, okay.
I
I
guess
didn't
he
realize
just-
he was
he
a
just-
master surgeon as well.
He just put it in the groove that, the old spine used to be in before they
Right.
even ate it.
So as Hyakibaru grew up, he would have to replace the spine.
Yep.
He can't feel
That's-
pain. Why wouldn't you?
Well, I guess that's true. He's like a giant Mr. Potato Head.
Kind of was, yeah.
Yeah.
Guess call him Bob. Anyways.
Mm.
No,
Anyway, back
you
to
have
my
to throw him in
point.
water first.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh,
New- the new recording seems to be affecting the host here. Back to my point was that Dororo seeing the devastation of the village, and this is a very nice like micro sample of what happened to Hakimaru, a child sacrificed for the greater good, and this wasn't a village; it was a land. And here we have multiple children sacrificed for just a village. And there, Dororo's like, oh, okay, did I do the right thing? Because I've devastated this village. And now has to turn around and, for the sake of one person just having arms and eyes, has to ruin an entire land. So this was a really cool setup for the overall story. The animation was weird, and there's definitely some weird plot points in this arc. But I did like what they were doing with it.
Do you think that they gave a little bit too much weight, maybe, to the idea of there being a moral conundrum in that situation? Just like it seems super obvious that they gave up all these children and sacrificed them, but then it didn't even stop there because he keeps bringing in people, innocent people, to feed the moth. So it's like, yeah, their village isn't suffering, their village is doing great, but there are still people dying frequently. We don't know exactly how frequently, but they are dying frequently, being fed to these demons.
That's also happening, that the demons that got Hyakimaru's body parts, they're out murdering people on a fairly regular basis, right? But also,
exactly.
Then the question for me becomes, are they culpable because they know about it, but they're not maybe the ones doing it? Maybe it's just the Lord doing it, but they're benefiting from it and not saying anything.
You mean the townspeople in this small town?
Yeah, the actual people. Because
They
like the people of the big cities in the Diego.
Daigo.
Daigo's lands, they have no idea what Daigo did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My thought on it is these little micro stories are a bunch of like, okay, if this is okay, would this be okay? Or if this isn't okay, is this still not okay? And just changing the shades of gray while not changing its overall, okay, this is okay and this isn't. But it keeps playing with that. What if I move the line just a little this side? What if I move it a little bit to this side? And I do think there is, something to say. One of the things from the first half that really struck me was the idea of, is it morally wrong to survive? And I feel like that's one of these things this village is facing, is like they found a way to survive, but at the expense of other survival. So they are morally in the wrong. But, what about other characters? I mean, Hakimaru's literal thing is killing people. His quest, by getting his body parts back, people are dying. There's affliction happening to the land. There's locusts. There's starvation. Children are dying back in that land because he wants to have his eyes back. Is that wrong of him? And that's really the big what this anime is presenting.
Right.
Yeah, it comes across to me like a slingshot effect, where like the fact that these people are experiencing none of those afflictions and none of those problems is because of the sacrifice that was made of him, and so it's not real. And also it's kind of like it's built on a really, really bad foundation, and also, like you mentioned, Jason, it's stretching out, and it's still all of those afflictions and more, because these demons were given material form now, are plaguing people all around them. So there's even a current net cost that just keeps going up, that other people are suffering. It's not even just Hyakimaru, but it's the people around them that are having their grandmas eaten, or having, or not their grandmas, their moms eaten, or sacrificing a nunnery full of children, things like that. It is interesting, but yeah, I don't know.
The way I saw it was, it's not Hyakimaru's fault for wanting to go get a body part back. It's Daigo's fault for sacrificing him in the first place. So the responsibility actually lies on Daigo's shoulders, not Hyakimaru for wanting to get back what's his, in my opinion.
I think the anime really pushes that at the end too, and I do agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm not actually trying to disagree with that either. I'm just saying I find it interesting that this anime takes so much time to
Yeah.
explore it and,
Mhm.
and to like I said, it's almost like it's testing its theory over and over by changing the parameters of the tests. And so yeah, I agree. Like I agree, Hakimaru did the right thing here, and he's right. Like no, these guys were horrible. Who cares about this village? But while they're walking away, the thought occurred to me is that little girl with the grandma who wanted to serve the rice cakes didn't do anything wrong, is now going to suffer horribly. Not Hakimaru's fault, really the village, leader's fault, obviously, but there is still someone suffering because of choices made, even in
Right.
the morally right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the two get separated over an argument, and a Dororo gets kidnapped by Itachi. Itachi comes back, and we talk about our favorite characters at the beginning of the show. I do want to give a special shout out for Itachi because this character I thought was way more layered than I thought they were going to be from last half, and so I really liked what they did with Itachi in this half.
Yeah, Itachi was pretty cool. I'm glad he didn't turn out to be shark meat.
Well, just the fact that he wasn't one note villain. He wasn't like, look, I'm in it for the money and I don't care who I kill, which is kind of there, but he's also like, I am sorry I dug up your mom. That was a dick move. I'm sorry I betrayed your dad. That was a dick move. I realize I'm not a good person, and he doesn't want to kill Dororo. He wasn't like, I'm gonna get the treasure from you, Dororo, and kill you. He was like, I'm gonna get the treasure. You do whatever you want to do. I don't really care.
I was all about watching him get his just comeuppance until they discovered Dororo's, sex, and they had every opportunity to abuse her, and instead they just tied her to a tree. And that kind of showed me the level of bad guy him and his villains were. They were just greedy thieves. They weren't out to really harm anyone. They just wanted they wanted easy street with the gold.
And again, it's another shade of gray of he's doing what he thinks he has to do to survive, getting that gold. He was a bandit. He didn't think that was going to work out, so he tried help working for the samurai and the lords. That didn't work out. He's like, okay, well then what about this third thing? And that's what, once he sets his mind to something, he goes after it, and he is greedy in doing that. But he is just trying to survive this world too, not specifically trying to. And it reminded me, he didn't kill Dororo's dad when he betrayed him. He shot him in the legs to disable him, and then walked away, and like didn't have an ill will against him.
Right.
Anyway, so he captures her. He's like, "Hey, I know the map's on your back." He sees her back. No map because there's no heat. And he's like, "Okay, well then you can just tell me where it is." So he takes her to the cove where the sharks are. So this is the shark arc. They go to a village in a bay, which is the bay is where the treasure is. Everyone is dead in the village. It's abandoned, except for one boy who's like, "Hey, I can help you," and he only has one arm. I will admit, the sharks are kind of dumb. But I also want to say that when they're out on the boat being pulled by two sharks, and he turns around, he's like, I fed my own freaking arm to the sharks because they were so hungry. I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, I'm kind of scared now. If you're on a boat alone in the water with two sharks around you, and the guy in the boat with you turns around and is like, oh, no, I fed my arm to the sharks. I'm terrified. That's really scary. Yeah, so they're pulled out to the water by these two sharks, which should be a red flag from the start. Like, I have shark-powered boats. That's fine. We'll get in.
This is the beginning. Like, this is similar to every plot of stupid water-themed horror movies, where it's like, oh no, I accidentally fell in the water with a bunch of man-eating piranhas, and I'm the fifth guy to do it because I'm not just gonna go inland. Like, as soon as there's sharks pulling you, it's like, okay, I'm back on the dock.
Those things like are known to eat people, why would I let them pull my boat?
Right.
But they do eat. So there's 2 boats of bandits. They eat one whole boat. And then the other boat with Dororo and Itachi and the other bandits is left out there for leftovers, basically.
Yeah.
MREs, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a meal for later. And guarded by one of the sharks. Itachi basically is like, I'm sorry, I was a bad guy. I'm sorry I got you into this mess. We're gonna die. Dororo's like, no. You need to get yourself together, man. You were the right-hand man of my dad. Let's do this. Dororo ties herself with a rope, jumps in the water as bait, has them pull her back before the shark gets her. And so when the shark jumps out, they all stab it with a sword, and it dies.
It
Totally
worked,
plausible.
but oh my god, it was silly.
So explain. Hearing you explain it makes me think of a B sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Watching it, I was rather impressed with the plan. I thought it was a dangerous plan, and the actual scene of him jumping out of the water and them getting him was fairly thrilling. Like, I actually enjoyed that scene. Listening to you now, I'm like, I should not have enjoyed that scene.
Yes.
The plan itself, I'm going to jump in the water with a shark with a rope. When I pull on it, you guys are going to pull me back faster than a shark can swim, and I'm going to be fine. It sounds like a little kid came up with it, except for in this anime, it works.
Because anime.
I do like what they do next, which they're like, no, get the corpse. And they row to shore, and they pull the shark on land, and then they wait for the boy to show up, and they're like, we killed your shark. We killed your
That was
shark.
awesome.
Totally trolling. So he runs on shore to get to his shark, and they just beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And then Dororo's like, oh no, don't kill him. We're the moral high ground. I'm like, no, this is your
Kill him.
opportunity to end
Yes.
this.
He has one
Yes.
arm because he gave it to a shark.
Yes. He's insane. He's not gonna stop.
You realize this world has monsters and ghouls, right?
Yeah.
Like, can we establish that?
This guy's the borderline one already.
All right. Again, though, he's human, and that's Dororo's whole thing. Like, we kill ghouls and demons. We don't kill humans. They beat him and then leave him, like, laying next to the dead body of the shark. They strip Dororo, trying to find the map and find out she's a girl. And they apologize. They're like, sorry, we didn't know. But then the heat from the fire makes the map show, so they get the map and they tie her up and leave her. And so Itachi and his band go up into the hills to face the rest. And then the episode ends with the shark guy calling out to the living shark, and the living shark basically starts turning into a demon.
Cool.
How?
No,
Why?
it's got to be a demon.
Why?
Because Hakimaru gets apart from him.
Hakimaru gets apart from
Oh,
shark.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so it may have been a contract, is why it turned. But also, Jeremy, you got to remember, what can turn you into a demon is the emotions. So very scientific.
Oh god. Oh god.
Yeah, there was enough feeling there that turned the shark to a demon.
You see what feelings do?
Right.
You see their weaknesses now.
Yes.
From now on in this podcast, whatever feelings is the answer, Jeremy's gonna come back here.
You
See
wanna
what
get
happens?
Black-eyed shark.
We then jump over to Hakimaru's storyline, who's searching for Dororo, runs into a monk who tells him, hey, you need a prosthetic. There's a doctor nearby who does that, but like for dead people. And so it's Jukai. And so we get the...
Hold on. Did we ever explain why they're separated?
Yeah, they had an argument after the village.
Yeah.
And Hakimaru just kind of stormed off, and Dororo fell behind, and then Itachi ran across Dororo before they could re-meet.
Okay.
It seemed a little abrupt for me in the actual episode. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, they completely left Dororo behind. Man. I mean, I guess it makes sense because he's probably so used to Dororo being there that being frustrated with her and having his mind on other things, he just stormed off and didn't even think about it.
And in a journey like that, like how often do you really stay within sight of each other? If you're on the same road, do you just kind of assume, okay, he's a half mile ahead of me, and I had to fall behind for something? It happens.
It's true.
I don't.
It's plausible.
So we basically catch up with Jukai, who's still giving parts to the dead, even though some guy is like, you shouldn't do that. That's dumb.
And people
And
are
there's, like,
literally coming up behind him and stealing the
Yeah.
prosthetics.
And it doesn't just happen once. It like happens as he puts a prosthetic on, and then he goes back and he replaces the prosthetic the guy took, and then somebody else steals the one he just did. It's like this loop. It's great.
But then these ghouls appear and they kill the guy who told him it was dumb. And they jump on him and then don't kill him and jump off. And he's like, oh, I guess I just don't deserve to die. He says it in such a negative way. Like, I guess I'm not alive.
It reminded me of the orcs from Warcraft. It's like, why couldn't I have died in battle?
But Hakimaru shows up and slays the ghoul, and so they're reunited. They go into a hill cave underground home thing, and they talk, and so basically this is the first time he's ever heard Hakimaru. Realizes he can touch and hear now.
He's got skin.
And Hakimaru's like, hey, I need a leg. And Jukai's like, hey, have some soup. And basically Jukai realizes this quest I kind of put you on has made you into a murdering psychopath. And that might be my fault. And I'm not going to give you a leg to help you keep doing that. And then they get caved in at like the worst possible moment.
Was it clear to you why Jukai thought that it turned him into a murdering psychopath? Because it didn't really make sense to me.
No, he guessed that he had not just killed monsters, but also killed people. But then also he could like sense the pain he was in.
Jeremy's like, what's the difference?
Yeah, like based on what evidence did he guess that he killed humans and not just monsters? Because he doesn't have the priest's eyes.
No, he asked, like, what have you killed with those things? And through the lack of answers, he was like, oh, you've not just killed monsters, you've also killed people. But then also they were talking about how he regrets putting him on this path to get his body parts because of the pain and suffering Yakimaru's had to go through. And so he wants to renege on that, I guess.
I mean, he's acknowledging that, wow, you have skin, you can smell things, you can speak, you can hear.
But the pain and suffering that go get those things.
Yeah, I don't want you to get any more of these body parts. Like, I don't know. To me, that just seemed very, very much just for the story's sake that he pulls back.
Or he was super offended that he would replace the spine that he so expertly surgically put in.
That makes more sense.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I see it as very much what the priest was talking about, like what is going to come out of the cave. And now Jukai's like, wait, what did I put on a quest to come out of that cave? Did I send this boy out to get his human parts only to have him turn into a monster?
Yeah.
That's
what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way.
Because he's
like
killed
a wild doubt to just suddenly change your mind. I mean, I'm sure that he's been dwelling on it and thinking about it all this time and everything, but I don't know. It didn't seem like there was enough evidence for Jukai. It seemed like it was a decision that he had made even before he saw Hyakimaru. Like, like you said, I regret that I put him on this path, and so if I ever get the chance, I'm going to try to take him off this path. And I think that is kind of what the last episode points to, is that he's trying to take him off that path completely. And maybe this was just his first attempt.
To me, it was all about the killing humans. Like, oh my god, you killed people.
This is a time period where everybody is killing people. Like, if you don't find out what the reason was for it, whether there was justification or not, it's just a naive, stupid thing to be like, oh, you killed people when people are killing people everywhere in this world.
Not with Jukai's history, which is he was someone who had killed people and it literally destroyed who he was and what he was about.
Yeah, but he was a torturer. I mean, like, I understand when a torturer's like, don't torture people and don't hammer nails into their hands, cut their fingers off while they're alive, and then hammer nails into their heart. Yeah, that's wrong. That's for sure. But if like you're fighting for the sake of justice and you're trying to fix something that was wronged and you're killing villains, then how do you assume that it's torture killing and not justice killing?
So Jukai and the priest morality seems to line up very similar to me, where you are either following the Buddha and you are a victim, or you are not following the Buddha and killing and you are a monster, and there is no in between. Yeah. And Jukai seems to be like, well, crap, I made this kid into a monster.
Yeah. Which is so weird because before he even sent him on his first journey, he did so because he watched him kill a demon and grow a body part back. So he knew that going on this journey is going to involve killing.
Right, just not.
But I think it's specifically
naivety.
People. It's specifically people, and because so I think the reason is because people are dying all over the place. But for Jukai, he's on this never-ending path of redemption, and in his worldview, he probably, and this is me pontificating, he probably doesn't think anyone's beyond redemption, no matter the heinousness of the crime. So if he, you take a soldier out of battle that's killed people, to Jukai, he thinks that soldier is worth redemption. It's worth a human life. Human life has a particular intrinsic value, and so the more you stain your hands or blades for Yakimaru, the more tainted his soul becomes.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. Characters like that always kind of irk me a little bit because it's like the naivety is so strong. Like when you come up against humans that are actually killing children and you catch them in the act, or you find pure evidence that that's what happened and they do it again, and then you kill them, you mete out justice on them. It's hard to look at it from the perspective of a character like Jukai who's thinking anybody can be redeemed. But
well, not only that, it's not about does that person you killed deserve death. It's what did taking a human life, good or bad, do to you. It hurt you. I think that has to do with the philosophies of the Buddha, and also like the shades of gray this anime is presenting. Because Dororo, it very much falls in line with that of not wanting to take a human life no matter what. And this anime constantly is like, okay, but this is a human now you're attacking. Even this shark boy, that's the reason we're facing a shark boy and not a demon at the moment, is because he is a human person who had a sad backstory and like lashed out and did a horrible thing. Now, if you kill him, what does that make you?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like he did a horrible thing. He killed an entire village of people, men, women, and children, and elderly people, and fed them to sharks. Like, that's his horrible thing. Like, I don't know. The type of conundrum that's being presented as the moral gray seems like a very weak argument in many cases. Like, I liked the Hyakimaru argument at first, but the more that I'm seeing of these arguments, the more that it becomes really clear to me that there really isn't an argument for the side that is defending the actions of many of these people in many cases. I can't think of any that I'm actually inclined to think the argument was reasonable. They're all really, really not good.
I think it's a or it's if you boil it down to, does one act of violence make another act of violence okay? And in the Buddha, that's no, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's I punched my neighbor and my neighbor forgave me and didn't punch me back, to I've done terrible things in war, and now I'm a prisoner of war. I'm not going to kill this evil individual because I would be doing the same thing they were doing. It's that argument, and you can agree or disagree with it, but that's that's where his moral compass is.
Yeah, it sounds like stripping context away and just measuring technicalities, which of course is not going to represent the real situations. But yeah.
You've heard of pacifism before, right?
I have, and I mean I've looked into.
No, we're
I've
not
looked
going
the-
into it. I'm just making a joke. We're gonna keep going forward. Jukai basically refuses to give him a leg, and Hakimaru digs his way out.
Like, does he have a YouTube video?
No, a leg.
Leg. Oh,
Sorry.
by the way, YouTube, thumbs up and subscribe.
So he
One
has
out
a
of 5 legs.
he has a peg leg right now,
Yeah.
Which he could
which is
make
fitting
fire
for going against a shark with a peg leg.
Didn't he attach a sword to the
How
bottom
did
of the
I
peg
not
leg
catch that?
when he was fighting the ant lion thing?
Yeah, the antlion. He put a sword in a fake leg. I think it was still a fake leg, but it was like or maybe it was a peg leg. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the moth, he made a torch out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Swiss Army leg.
there's a tree outside that's making all these ghouls, so he kills that, and we also get a short snippet where we catch up with Tohamaru, and who is facing down rat ghouls in that had attacked the village, and they kill the babies, which was a big thing, is that they had to burn the babies alive.
Well, wasn't it that he I don't think it was an issue that he killed the babies. I think it was the issue that how cold his manner in dispatching everything was, which was like leave the mother alive but disabled and hobbled in there.
Right, so the babies wouldn't run when they set it on fire.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see the coldness as being like killing the babies. I saw it as not dispatching the mother and dispatching the babies quickly, but leaving them all to suffer in a burning building, which is a miserable death. Because I'm sure that they still wanted to kill baby rat ghouls.
Yeah, I didn't really get it, to be honest, because it seemed efficient to me.
It was the method.
Me too. Yeah.
No, I understood why they would say that due to the method, but yeah, if you're gonna kill out the extermination, kill out the extermination. I mean,
yeah, do it all. Get them.
Get him.
But after this, he gets ordered to go investigate because Dororo was spotted, so he's also going to go to Shark Island.
Shark Island.
And Hakimaru goes there as well. And so we go back to Shark Island, but right where we left off. The shark jumps onto the shore and eats its dead brother, and it becomes a demon that can walk on land. Not very well, though. It can more just flop on land.
Like fin legs.
It attacks Dororo, who's still tied up. She gets away, and Hakimaru saves her. And then Hakimaru manages to kill it, but he loses his peg leg. But then his leg grows back, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I wonder why this one grew back. Because they later we get the theory that from this point on, you're not getting your body parts back because the 12th demon is getting in the way, intercepting your body parts.
Somehow. Yeah.
But he does get this leg back. We catch up with the bandits. They're having to deal with traps that were set around the treasure, and they're dying. And then Tohamaru's fleet arrives, and they attack both the bandits, and they start going after Hakimaru and Dororo. Hakimaru has a big battle with Tohamaru and his two aides, Matsu and Hyogo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Every time those three fought against Hakimaru, it was cool. I love their teamwork. Mm-hmm. I love their tactics, and they break one of his sword arms in this fight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Itachi and Dororo get pinned down. Itachi gets hurt, but they do find the treasure, but Itachi dies when they find it. And
because he just wanted a glimpse before he died.
Right. And then the shark boy appears with bombs, screw you all, everyone dies on Shark Island. And blows everyone up, so everyone basically scatters, and Dororo takes a little bit of the money, but says, I don't know what to do with it yet, so I'm just going to leave it here for now.
You know, the weirdest part of this for me was that we see Shark Boy's body at the bottom of the cliff at the end, and it's just charred and everything, but whole, even though he was holding and standing over all of those explosives. Very weird.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
The next one is kind of a quieter, a simpler episode, but I actually really like this. So this is one of my favorite moments in the whole anime. It's when they're looking for a blacksmith, and Hakimaru has developed this new habit of whenever he meets something, he hugs it.
And rubs his forehead to it.
So
Nuzzles it, yeah.
the first scene is him, horse, Dororo, horse, and then he comes up to the blacksmith's daughter and he like hugs her to his face, and she's like, "Oh my god, a boy likes me."
Yeah.
Well, what's really interesting is when they get there, this guy is telling them about the blacksmith. He's like, he's a horrible blacksmith. He makes horrible tools, and his daughter is super ugly, and no one likes her. and they go and like they even test his tools, and his tools are like super sharp and perfected. And they see the daughter, and she's super beautiful. Basically, the plot here is that there is a ghoul that is plaguing this village and makes everyone lie.
Say the opposite of what they mean.
Right. So the girl thinks Hakimaru wants to marry her because he's like, she should come. I don't need Dororo. And Dororo gets mad, even though Dororo should have figured it out like in the first 5 seconds when she runs in and says, I hope you're very happy and I hope everything is great for you. And then she runs out and she doesn't put 2 and 2 together the whole time. It's very obvious. It's kind of silly, but it all just leads to them getting new swords. And it's just kind of a quieter episode.
Mm-hmm.
I did like reading some of the lines and being like, oh, he means the opposite though. That's cute. And then the next one, we meet Dice Spot, who is another demon slayer. And he wants to help, but they're like, okay, we don't really care. Hakimaru goes to fight this big demon that's nearby, and then Dice Spot helps the demon, and Hakimaru and Dororo fall down. We'll talk about that in a second. The reason Dice Spot helps the demon is because this was a messed up scene.
Yeah,
He was walking with his mom in the woods one day, was attacked by the demon. She fell down, and when he turned to run away, he got grabbed and he sliced with his sword. And when he got back to the village, his mother's hand is still holding on to his kimono. And everyone's like, what happened? And then they made fun of him and he was humiliated. So whenever he take hunting parties out to help find the demon, they get killed. He'd be like, good. Good.
Yeah.
I'm not the only coward. So he's been feeding people to the demon to make himself feel better. That's basically his whole thing. But the whole hand still clutching him was
that was intense. Yeah. That was good writing.
Yeah, it was.
So in this scene, when they fall off a cliff, Dororo wakes up and her arm's pinned under rocks. And Hakimaru's trying to get her out, and the water is filling up around them. And Hakimaru's arms start to break as he is pushing the rocks. And then the priest shows up, pulls out his sword, frees Dororo, and Hakimaru leaves to go kill the demon, furious that he couldn't save Dororo. I mentioned I wanted to talk about this scene because to me, what really struck me was that after this scene, Hakimaru is hell-bent now on his quest for his body parts because to him, that's the reason he couldn't save Dororo, the most precious thing to him. But the priest could save Dororo in a second by using his sword, which broke. To me, that said that the one thing Hakimaru was not willing to sacrifice to save Dororo was the swords that he has. If he had sacrificed, he was willing to sacrifice his arms and break them, but he was not willing to sacrifice and break his sword to save Dororo on his quest. So there's a little bit of, he's willing to do anything except for the one thing the priest was willing to do, which is, okay, my sword's gone. You're free.
That's a good point. That didn't click.
I think the only thing that bugged me about this scene is the water seemed contrived. Like, okay, you fell down this crevasse, you both barely survived. She's now stuck in the rocks, and then now there's an underwater spring that happens to burst right here. Okay, we have like done something else? But I can see, and it felt like it was written to create the urgency, but the urgency was already there. She's stuck.
Right.
Whether she's drowning or not.
The priest happens to show up again at the exact moment he's needed. I don't disagree with that. I just really like the visual imagery, especially at the very end of the episode. The priest is putting his sword away, and you see it broke, saving Dororo, and how much Hakimaru did everything he could to save her. but he protected his swords, which he needs for his quest. So it's almost like you're like number 2 priority, kid.
Yeah, even broke his prosthetic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The hands could go, but he never considered sacrificing his swords, which I thought was a really cool visual storytelling. If that's what they're saying, I might be reading too much into it again.
I
but
think you're right, though.
That's what
too.
I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I thought really, really good character building on Hakimaru's part. Then basically Hakimaru goes back up and just murders that thing, and it eats Dice Spot and fuses with him, grows wings, and he's like
After he
he
kills
becomes
it?
Sephiroth. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
he
like-
kills it dies and then comes back. But apparently that's a thing in this anime. That can happen. You can get your head ripped off and come back
Yeah.
and go fighting for another round.
Yeah.
I will not have you besmirch that scene. That scene was awesome.
Just ate him like a noodle from spaghetti, though. Just...
We'll get to it. Yeah, and then we actually join up with, from Dororo's point of view, it comes on to the aftermath of the battle where just body parts are everywhere.
Only the Chimera's body parts, by the way.
Yeah.
And Hakimaru is still cutting it up, trying to get his body part, which isn't coming.
I love that Dororo was there so soon, because Dororo got to see him deliver the final blow to the fusion, but that the tail was twitching still.
Mm-hmm. I did think that. I think this is where I started to get a little bit frustrated with the naivety. Like in this situation, Dororo is coming up running, and he sees the silhouette of basically Dice Spot in a mutated form protruding out of, like, his torso, his bust, right, protruding out of the side of the head of this carcass of clearly a demon that they've faced before. And yet Dororo is like, no, don't, no, because it's human. It's a freaking veiny monster sticking out of the side of the head of a monster. It's not human anymore.
I think you're missing that there is also a
in.
physical danger to the actions that Hakimaru is doing. He's literally on his path to becoming an actual demon, not just a bad man who's like a demon. Like a horse can just turn into a demon, and a shark can just turn into a demon. You can actually cross a line of inner rage, emotions, and turn
Yes,
into
because
an
of
actual
emotions.
monster. When they say Hakimaru don't turn into a demon, I think they mean, I'm pretty sure they mean literally.
Yeah, literally. That's what that's
Yeah.
what I took to.
Yeah, you're probably right. But, like, then he needs to just completely stop fighting altogether, because he's driven by this desire to get back his stuff. And if you're going to claim that this desire leads to rage and frustration,
I think it's a
or
little more
leads to
nuanced.
situations that are going to be like that.
So they present both points, right? They present that simplistic version of it, which would be the Buddha teaching, but they really, really go into the nuance of it, and it felt really much like, are you? It's the how. How are you going about it? Are you slaying the demon to get your body part? Are you slaying the demon because you hate it? Are you slaying the demon because you enjoy it? And what are those emotions that are being riled up?
Right. Which at this point, Roro's literally starts telling him, quit. Let's just quit. Just like you said. And then, but later at the end of the series says, no, there is a middle ground. You can have the strength, defend yourself, take back what you want, fight, but then have the strength of heart to not let it change you. And whether they present that as a good argument is kind of my issue with this whole anime. But I do think that's what the anime is trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, this scene bugged me. Still bugs me.
We're not surprised.
Because of this, Hakimaru decides to go back to Daigo's land. He's like, screw hunting demons. I know where my body parts are. They've got to be back there. That's where we're going. I was really surprised that we start building towards this final confrontation at episode 21. So we're on 21 now. So that's 4 episodes. They give this 4 for this final confrontation. most animes would be like on the second to last episode and be like, okay, and now final confrontation. No time for an epilogue.
Yeah.
We do check in with Daigo's land. They're basically on the verge of war again with the same people they were at war with last time we met them. A new epidemic has spread across the land, and they're literally murdering villagers and torching villagers to try to quarantine it. And very much for symbolism, but there is a white horse with a little pony that gets conscripted into the army.
With beautiful eyes. Beautiful eyes.
It's both important to the story, and like I said, it's clearly, it's like, you could just call the horse the symbolism.
Yes. Yes.
But it gets taken into the army. And Tohamaru, I shortened everyone's name in my notes. Tohamaru finds out that Hakimaru is coming back to the land, and because the war's keeping everyone busy, he's like, I will go deal with it, Dad. And his dad's like, okay, I'm totally okay with that. You, Master Spy General, you don't let that happen. And then we see Hakimaru and Dororo walking. Basically, we get a scene kind of what we just talked about of Dororo literally like, you have to stop. I'm not going with you anymore. I can't do this. And Hakimaru turned around like, why do I have to stop? These are literally my body parts. This is right what I'm doing. And Dororo being like, I don't know what to do anymore. But I kind of thought more would come from this scene. It's just literally them stating where they are in their own decision making, but nothing really changes.
Well, Dororo gets on his side in this scene. She's like, dang it, you're right. What you're doing is just.
Okay, that's fair. That wasn't how I first interpreted it, but I can't argue with that.
Yeah, that's exactly how I took it. It's like, Dororo, this like for quite a while now, has been like, hey, you're more important to me than your body parts. Why don't we just find a place to settle down and we can be together? And he's like, they're my body parts. They had no right to take them. And she's just like, oh, that's right. Because he goes, I want to feel like you feel, and I want to see like you see. And it breaks her. She's like, yeah, you're right. It's not fair that they took it from you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm cool with that. That's cool.
No, you don't understand.
They come across a giant ravine full of dead bodies, and that's where they run into Tohamaru and his two assistants again. They have another big battle.
Can we explain to me the symbolism of the Buddha down there for some reason?
Cannot. I didn't really understand. I didn't really understand what was going on down there because there's stuff glowing and there's body parts.
I imagine it was, some sort of battle took place here recently. But there was also a Buddhist, like huge Buddha statue down there, I assume beforehand. And then, stuff was glowing down there. And it's like,
well, I mean, we've seen the Buddha in the background for lots of scenes. So maybe it's just another of divine intervention.
I guess that makes sense for what's coming up. So, go ahead.
Another big battle. Hakimaru takes out Matsu and Hyogo's arms, takes them clean off.
I was so surprised by that. That I was not prepared for that.
And he gives another big scratch to Tohamaru over his missing eye.
I was really happy that he took their arms off. I hated these characters by this point.
Really? I thought they were great.
God, I hated them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just because of the choices that they made to just, like they said, we will follow you into hell. They completely gave up their own moral compasses out of devotion to him. And Tohamaru he's made his decision, and he's not willing to consider or think about any moral perspective or compass outside of his own. And so by this point, I was like, yes, no, you didn't finish them. Finish them.
I mean, you're not 100% wrong that they gave up their moral code, but they do. I mean, they had so many times where these two characters would like stop and talk about what they're doing. Like, man, are we okay with this? And like, I mean, the land is dying. We have to do something. And so I got that they did believe that what Tohamaru was doing was the morally right thing to do, and if they didn't, they probably would still go along with it, but that they were on board, not just out of gratitude, but also because they believed they were doing the right thing.
And I think Tohamaru thought he was doing the right thing as well.
I 100% think that.
Oh, Tohamaru 100% did, but he stopped listening to counter arguments. He stopped listening to other perspectives, and
because at that point he was on a righteous crusade.
Yeah, he was on a crusade, and it was just like, dude,
there was no room for argument at that point because the decision had been made.
Look at yourself. You're becoming an avatar of Asura. That's stated very, very soon here before he even gets any weird stuff going on. And he's in the hall of hell praying at different times, and it's like, dude, come on. You don't make deals with demons.
Real quick sidebar. I want to address Amazon Video. For all of you employees listening, which I'm sure we have got tons. I'm just kidding. That's totally off base. But
thank you for the boys.
Right. Spoiler alert in your thumbnails for these videos. Can we not have a picture of Tohamaru with what's coming up? Like that was, I saw that. I was like, oh, well, now I know how that episode goes. Come on. Leave a little in suspense.
I actually saw that thumbnail last season and I had to keep quiet about it, so I agree. Yeah. I didn't know what I thought they were demon eyes. When I found out what they actually were, I was like, that's actually pretty. We'll get to that. We gotta get there. Basically that spy master shows up with that white horse I mentioned, straps it with bombs, runs it at Hakimaru, and sends them both over a cliff in a giant explosion. Horse parts everywhere. Hakimaru falls down that ravine. And then he knocks out Tohamaru with a dart, and takes everyone and captures Dororo, and they all ride back to the castle.
I did like how he, the bodyguards were, they said something, and he's like, how can you think about yourself when you can't even protect him? Like, that's your job. What are you doing?
Yeah, it kind of brings me back to Jeremy's comment about them, is that their whole thing is, no, you don't get to have a moral compass. You have a purpose and a job to serve someone with a moral compass. And does he have a point there or not? Probably not, especially in our modern society. But in their society, I would think that would strike very hard to their reason. And it did to Mutsu. Like that clearly resonated with her.
Well, I mean, they didn't get their arms cut off because they were hesitating. They got their arms cut off because they weren't as good as Yakimaru.
Right.
And so it wasn't a quandary there where they were like considering their moral compass, and that hesitation got their arms chopped off. It was just that they sucked.
I like how Yakimaru bested them in literally every single encounter.
Yep.
And there was good reason for it. Yakimaru has been literally fighting demons for 22 episodes. These guys have been training.
And also now he's pissed. They did point out, like, he looks pissed. This is going to be harder.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things that was getting me, is like, at first I was more inclined to be sympathetic with their perspective, and Yakimaru was very much like questioning, what's the situation? Why are you guys really my enemies? You're not my enemies. You're my brother. Why are we fighting? In the first half. Or no, that wasn't the first half. That was on Shark Island, right? And he's like, why are we fighting? Why are you attacking me? What's going on? And I was very sympathetic in that moment, because it's like, I think I'm empathizing with Yakimaru in this situation, whereas he's growing in rage with the injustice of his own brother now saying, you are the blight on the land, you are a demon, and you are the problem, and you need to be killed. And I think I'm actually following that character. Okay, I actually think, that's actually really interesting.
I had that thought, because the anime does seem to be saying, like, is Hakimaru in the right? But you're also making me follow along and go through his struggles and his journeys. How am I supposed to not agree with everything he's doing? You've literally told me he's the protagonist and my hero, and so I understand that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The episode ends with the horse pieces coming back together to form a demon. or a ghoul.
What's
Yeah.
weird is that like pieces of samurai armor also swirl about, but they don't become horse, or maybe they do.
So this is what I was hoping would happen in the next episode, that Yakimaru would be covered in it and it would like give him a power boost. And then he would be on the horse.
Which it kind of.
Kinda
I mean, the
did.
horse does give him a power
Yeah.
boost, but yeah, not the armor.
It's
Yeah.
horse fire tornado.
Yeah,
Now, is it a ghoul or is it a celestial being?
They call it a ghoul, but
Because
then
the
again,
Buddha's down there.
that's people that are being killed by it are calling it a ghoul. I don't know what it really is.
I would say it's a ghoul just because it changes back when.
Right.
Anyway,
After it.
yeah, Hakimaru starts riding the demon horse, which seems odd that he sees the demon as like, yay, team up? Can we team up?
Epic duo.
Yeah, this was really weird to me.
We see Jukai has reached Daigo's land. What's the girl's name? Tahamaru's assistant, Matsu. She's sick. She's down with the sickness now. And then Hakimaru's mom actually shows up here. She has a much bigger role to play, obviously, in these couple episodes. What did you guys think? Her name is Oka? I think it's Oka. We'll just call her the mom. What do you guys think of mom?
I like that once. So we have to remember, this is feudal Japan. She can't just go running off as a lord's wife. And once she had the opportunity to basically help the rebels, that she jumped on it, and that kind of redeemed her in my book, because she's been wanting to basically make her family whole this whole time. She doesn't hate Tahamaru. She doesn't dislike him. But she's got this hole in her heart for the son that she feels was sacrificed. And that's been distracting her from giving Tahamaru the attention that he deserved as growing up. And I like that she was very willing to seize the opportunity to make a difference, or at least try to get, do some sort of redemption, because obviously stabbing herself didn't work. So.
Yeah,
But,
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I like what she did here.
I like what she does here when she releases Dororo, and then she seems a little wishy-washy to me. And then at the end, I mean, does she really do anything? She wants to.
I think she's wanted to die for some time, and I think that this was her opportunity to see her son Tahomaru
That
on
ending
their
scene
farewell journey.
didn't make sense to me. I didn't like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the moms. I thought I would be, but it kind of just rubbed me the wrong way the whole way through.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't happy that they all wound up dying there. That was, but I did love the mom scene where the moment where Yakimaru looks and sees Jukai and Oka, and he's like, "Mom," and then because he's talking about both of them. That was cool.
He called Jukai his mom. He's like, "I know what you are. You're my mom. I'm not your mom, dude. What?"
Yeah, I was not happy with the way that went, because it's like he finally gets the things, not only his body parts, but the people in his life that he wants.
Jumping a little ahead.
Well, Jeremy did it first.
I know, but he was trying to talk about the character and he jumped too much ahead. Now you're not even talking about the character anymore.
Fine. I'll comment on it when we get there.
Got the podcast police in full force tonight.
Wee.
Okay, what happens next? Yeah, the mom releases Dororo and then decides to go with her at the last second. They get on a boat. The boat crashes. They wash up at a village that has basically formed from refugees from all their problems this land is having, and they end up staying there. And that's where the little baby pony is.
The boat and the river crashing and everything that felt a little bit contrived to me. Like,
There's
we need
quite
to
a bit
get
of
them
that
from
in this.
point A to point B over here. So how are we going to do it? Are they just going to go there, put them in a boat, crash the boat, and have them wake up?
Even the whole village is like, this is important? You're telling me this whole village is important? Okay, I guess if you tell me it's important.
Yep.
It just kind of came out of nowhere. Tohamaru and they chase Matsu to the Hall of Hell because she's gonna offer herself to the demons. And when they get there, the demon.
You mean Tohamaru and everybody chase Matsu or Mutsu or whatever?
Right, right. She goes to make a deal with the demons. They show up and they all get involved in a deal, which is basically getting the rest of Hakimaru's body parts for themselves.
That was pretty crazy.
Which
That was
is,
pretty crazy.
I thought that was cool. I was like, okay, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't understand. So they rejected her because the deal was off. Because why?
Well, they seem to believe that it was because it would only be about Hyakimaru, like only Hyakimaru's body could fulfill it. But if the only way I could understand it was that because they have very similar soul patterns, Hyakimaru and Tohamaru, having Tohamaru there and then having them attached to Tohamaru so much would allow there to be some way to like use him as a catalyst to try to get the body, whereas they couldn't do it with Mutsu because she's too far from the source. I think Tohamaru was close enough that he could be used to do it.
Honestly, I was hoping they would say, "Oh, she's sick. She's not a good enough sacrifice."
I was hoping that too.
To me, this was like Thanos giving out power stones to the bad guy to go get the rest of them for him. That was kind of my. I don't know.
I'd agree with that.
And meanwhile, Hakimaru is on the joyride of his life, turning into a fire tornado and just murdering people across the land. He finds the spy guy and just decimates him, and so
I clapped.
Fireball,
it was
super
the
effective.
horse that did it. Yes.
Yeah, the horse. Yeah, the horse pretty fire. And this is where the animation was like kicking up a notch and getting really, really good. And then Tohamaru and his two aides show up in front of Hakimaru, and his wounded eye and the slit over turn into eyes, and Hakimaru, those are mine.
Yeah.
This was a really cool scene.
Really cool.
Maybe silly how we got here. That was really cool. And then they each each of the assistants have one new arm of Hakimaru's. Those are my freaking arms, man. So yeah, they get into a big fight, and they're much more powerful because they have his body parts now. Dororo shows up at the fight, and the priest stops her from getting involved. He's like, they probably would just murder you if you walked in there right now. And then so that little white pony comes up to get to its mother, who's now a demon, and it's fighting the two assistants. And it gets stabbed, and then it pins down Hyoga and just eats his head.
Yeah.
But then he still jumps up and like stabs it again, headless.
It was like the arm was controlling it. I mean, even the way they animated the body almost looked like the same thing happened to Mutsu, where like she got thrown or kicked. She got kicked, and as she's flying, his arm stabs the sword in the ground and whips her like nearly lifeless body around. It's like the sword was the arm was controlling them.
You know,
really
something similar happens to Tohamaru at the end. I think by putting the body parts in them, this demon now has a little bit of control on them.
Yes, that was very much explicit.
Right. But
yeah, even their faces changed a bit. Their expressions, their eyes were drawn differently.
And her epidemic was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but I will forever remember this anime is where the horse ate a guy's head.
Yep. Yeah, it was crazy.
And then the headless body got up to keep fighting. That's something new for me. I'm down with that. Tohamaru gets really upset about this and cries over their bodies. The mom's there. She says something to Hakimaru. He grows his arms back, grabs his swords. My daughter walked in the room. She's like, he has a sword with a handle.
Yeah.
Does he know he has a sword with a handle?
He's
All
used to
this
fighting
time.
with two.
Yeah, and all this time we thought he was carrying that sword with a handle. I know I mentioned it last time. He's got it because he's going to use it.
When he
Never used it. I actually kind of like that they did that. He stuck with what he knew, even if it was not optimal for his.
And I love that
health.
it gave him a new advantage against Tohamaru as well, because Tohamaru was like, "Oh, he's got hands now, so now he's got more reach."
He can
Dang
yeah.
it!
Yep.
I also really like that Tohamaru now has the spirit vision with
Yeah, he closed his real eye, and now then he could see
Mhm.
the blobs.
So we basically just get a really cool fight scene with them for a long. They go into a swamp. It's really beautifully animated.
Literally an episode and a half.
Mhm.
Fight all their way to the forest, to the castle, and then we also get the scene with Dororo saying the moral that she learned, because basically one of the refugees is like, maybe we should like kill this guy so the land can prosper. Wouldn't that make sense? It's one guy, and she tries to attack them, and she's like, no, he's trying to make his life better with his own power on his own hands, and that's what we need to be doing. We need to quit being at the whims of the samurai. We need to take our own power. And they're like, where are we gonna get that power? She's like, don't worry about that. And this is kind of a contrast to the priest who had said, you're basically following the Buddha or you're a monster, which to me was basically you're a victim or you're
A villain.
a villain, yeah. And to me, this is the anime saying their moral line, and whether I agree with it or not doesn't matter. I don't feel like they presented her argument very well with all the different shades of gray we've been seeing. I'm like, I'm not sure that works in this world you've been presenting us this whole time.
That's kind of what I was trying to say about those previous instances. It's just an issue of presentation, and I'm not like the argument presented to me wasn't nuanced enough or convincing enough for me to entertain it. And I think you're right in this situation as well. They do that again.
Actually, I'm starting to agree with you because when we get to it, they kind of dig into that a little bit more, and I think the issue is we're in feudal Japan. We're not in 1800 London, right?
Right.
Right. It's a really idealistic view to be like, you take care of yourself, but you have a kind heart while you do it. Yeah, that's great. That's just not how the real world is worked. And you've shown us the world how it works, and that I don't see where that fits anywhere.
In fact, the most powerful good guys, if you will, so far was Dororo's parents, where they fought against and stole from the samurai, but they were still vagabonds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were killing people all the time.
Still killing samurai all over. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are we? They're at the castle.
Yeah, they're fighting.
I really liked the fight in the castle, but it made me laugh because they're like, Tohamaru says like, this is my room, and I just imagined like that conversation spiraling like, this is my room. Well, it's very nice. I wish I had one. I wish you had one too. Okay, where's your bathroom? It's over there. Oh, thank you for showing me.
I thought it was gonna be as they fought. It was gonna be a tour of the house, like, and this is the kitchen.
Yeah.
This is my
I'm not
study.
the only one who had that thought. That's funny.
Yep.
I climbed this tree when I was 5. It's like, okay.
We get a long fight with them, and eventually
some of the best animation sword fighting
yeah,
I've seen in a while.
it's really cool, and they do have like really important conversations. Tohamaru was thinking about like how sad his mom was his whole life, and Hakimaru was pointing out like, you're missing a piece of you just like I'm missing a piece of me. What's up with that? And Tohamaru's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but rude. This castle's catching on fire and they're still fighting. Eventually Hakimaru wins but doesn't go for the killing blow and spares him. It just basically decides like, I don't want to be that kind of person anymore. I don't want to do that. And then Tohamaru starts to get possessed, so he rips out the eyeballs. And then the floor opens up and there's a giant demon egg nest thing.
Which made me wonder, was this castle built on top of this demon?
Oh, that's an interesting perspective. I didn't
Because
think of that.
it didn't show itself until the fire started and stuff started busting around them.
And was that officially the demon?
He stabbed it, and that's when
he got his eyes back.
Yeah.
The last demon. Yeah.
It was just so weird that it was just right. Like there was no setup for this thing appearing. It was just like, and here
and
it
it
is.
was enormous.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm wondering. Was the castle built on top of it, and that once it burnt down some, it exposed it?
That could be.
It would have been nice to have a little setup.
Mm-hmm.
Jukai and the mom show up and save Hakimaru from falling debris. And now that he has his eyes, he gets to see his mom's. That's the scene Jeremy was talking about.
Yeah.
Jason, would you like to comment on this scene as well?
Yeah, this is the most frustrating scene ever. It's burning around. They've got a person that is brand new eyes and is having a tough time with vision. We have a very strong, able-bodied person, and we've got a mom that could easily lead her semi-blind son to the exit. Why didn't all four of them get out?
Yep, I totally agree.
Because, okay, sure, the moms wanted to commit suicide, fine. Tahamaru may not have wanted to, and he didn't get a choice.
Jukai also has wanted to die for a while.
Well, he's freaking on fire in that last scene, and he's smiling, looking down, like, haha, my sleeve's on fire.
Jukai,
you get my dream.
You on fire, man.
And it bugged me because it's like he finally gets all the people in his life that he's wanted, plus his body parts. But no, the people, they get to die. It's like, okay, I understand they all did something they feel was terrible in the past. Mom didn't deserve to die.
I felt like Tohamaru was savable. The other two, like, they clearly went in there to die. Like, I'm going to go in there to die. Which, it's dumb. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's why they told Dororo you can't go in. You know, because we're going to go die. You can't go with us. You got to be here for Hyakimaru.
Jukai wants to go in, and he wants, because he's been wanting to die for a long time. Fine, make him be the sacrificial lamb that gets everyone out. But the other two didn't make sense to me, and I didn't like that about it.
It's called tying loose ends up clumsily.
And then they get out, and Hakimaru tells Dororo she's pretty.
And this guy's pretty.
This guy's pretty.
I thought that was really cute.
It's probably weird to ship it, but I kind of felt like they were building a little bit of a ship there, guys.
Oh, they totally were. That's why they separated them, and that's why they showed her as an older person later.
Yep.
Because if they kept her with him, it would be weird. But by separating them, you create a distance, which allows them to come back together later, and it's not as weird.
Re-meet each other, not be so brother and sisterly. Mm-hmm. I see what you did there. We should also mention that Daigo's war is not going well, but he decides, like, a man's got to do what a man's got to do, and he leads his troops to war. And then we come to our epilogue, which is Dororo's with the village of refugees. Is like, hey guys, I'm rich. We're gonna be rich. That's what we'll do, and we'll be this independently financial nation. And there's no way that's gonna work.
Right, and this is that moral expansion I was talking about. It's like, okay, because they go, oh well, I'm not good with a sword, and she's like, that's not the power I was talking about. It's like, okay, great. Economic power does not work without military power in feudal Japan. I am sorry, but your plan is fundamentally flawed. And even the priest is like, that's not quite what I was talking about when I was being all shady with, like, think about it. So I liked where they were going, but like it was completely unrealistic within the setting.
Maybe they could throw the gold at the samurai as they're murdered senselessly.
Just distract them.
Or there's so much gold that as they come in, they crush them with it.
Okay. And then we get Hakimaru's ending, which is basically he returns to the Hall of Hell, and he finds Daigo there, and Daigo's like, "I'd do it again. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it. I'll do it whatever it takes. That's what a lord does."
Because I cannot be wrong. I found that interesting that he repeated that a couple of times. Mm-hmm. My decisions cannot be incorrect.
And that might just be like, once I start down that path, what else can I do but walk down that path? Like, once I feed a baby to demons, if that's not right, what else can I do but keep feeding babies to demons?
Or is it I'm authoritarian?
So I'm the moral authority.
Yeah.
You guys, is there a dubbed version?
No.
No, you guys watch the sub version too?
Yeah.
Because the thing that he said that caught my attention was when he said that a lord rules over everything or succeeds in his rule or something like that. Where it took me back to how everybody was saying, yeah, did you really for the good of the nation,
Right.
or was it for you? And in this last scene, yeah, it was for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But I actually love what they did with Hyakimaru in this, but even more what Daigo wound up saying at the end. I thought it was really, really well put.
Yeah, so Hakimaru picks up a sword as if to kill him, but instead stabs the samurai helmet and then puts down the statue that Jukai had brought him at the very end. Which, by the way, they keep showing Jukai like pulling something out of his shirt, and then you think it's like a knife he's gonna kill Hakimaru with, and it ends up being the new Buddha statue.
Because he goes,
that,
yeah,
like,
I shouldn't have given him swords and prosthetics. I should have given him religion, is basically
right.
what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeremy, what did Daigo say that caught your attention here?
Oh, just what he said that was so great was when he was like, he just starts wailing and he's like, oh my God, this strength that he has, this will to live, this would have been the strength that would have inherited my rulership. And he would have probably led this nation to the prosperity that I bargained with demons for.
Right. Basically reinforcing the taking success by your own hands is the morally right thing to do. Building success on the sacrifice or on others is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't make shady deals with demons.
Yeah, and him realizing that Hakimaru had the strength to find the success all along.
Mm-hmm.
It was the friends we made along the way.
There
And then Hakimaru disappears. He just wanders the land. I'm guessing it has to do with like
Season 2.
Jason had mentioned, he had killed so many people and done so many horrible things that he just had to go out and like make sure he wasn't. There's a lot of redemption and need here.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
okay,
assuming that's what he did.
can I be real here? When the priest asked where he went, and Dororo said, "Oh, well, he needed to make sure that his new body works." And then I saw him walking. I'm like, is he like looking for a brothel? Like, what does she mean by that?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Dororo decides to wait for him, and then
The demons didn't take that part.
the final scene. I will not listen to you guys. The final scene is a grown-up Dororo running to Hakimaru, and that is the end of the series. Okay. Any thoughts on that ending?
Great wrapping up. Besides the 3 deaths that I think were not warranted for the story, I think it was a fantastic way to wrap this up. And I do not like very few circumstances I could even see a season 2 being needed. I could see a season 2 ruining this. So I like it where it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think it needs a season 2. I don't think it should even have a season 2. But it smells like they're leaving the opening for a different flavor to season 2, like to tell a different story. I could see
like
that.
a romantic comedy.
Yes, there you go. About him trying to find the a way of peace, but constantly killing things at the end of every episode because he just can't help himself. I see. It would be funny. I really liked the ending. I thought it was good.
I didn't. I don't like that Hakimaru left, and I get like what Jeremy said about then now they can ship it, and that actually makes sense. But there was something Dororo had said about like I know what I need to do, I know what I need to build my future, but I need you here to be able to do it. And then he left anyway, and it just felt so random that like the whole thing was about them coming together and finding that they need each other and building a family, and then him just to be randomly, I gotta go for like 10 years. I'll see you later. It just came so out of nowhere for him how much he needed Dororo up to that point. It caught me off guard, and I'm not sure I agree with that decision. It felt like it was just for, wouldn't it be cool if she was older and they had a reunion?
I took it as he needed to go and deal with his past, deal with the changes in all of his senses and everything. I mean, he's got his body back now. What's he going to do with his life? And I do agree that up to this point, that would have been something I'd expect them to be doing together. Like he would be trying to figure that path out with her by his side as a little sibling, a little sister. But yeah, I don't know, that sort of isolation meditation, without any distraction, without anybody else influencing your thoughts. I could kind of see him, because before Dororo he was always alone, so maybe he just wants to get back and reconnect with that for a little bit.
And let's be real, Troy. You're a little raw right now when it comes to like a father-daughter relationship.
Dropped her off today. She's doing... Okay, let's go to final reviews then. Jeremy, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So I really liked it. Not as much as I liked the first one. I think that the way that they handled the moral dilemmas, I think, could have been done a little bit with more finesse, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't as satisfying of an argument as I think it could have been. Additionally, like some of the nitpicky points that Jason pointed out and that I pointed out, in the end, I got to give it a 4 out of 5 for this, but a 5 out of 5 for the entire series. If you watch it all together, I do think it's really good.
And if you listen to the podcast, I pointed stuff out too, just so everyone knows.
Oh, yeah. Jordan just love everything.
All right, Jason, how about you?
I thoroughly enjoyed this anime. Did it have some problems? Did it have some nitpicks I could find? Sure. Did I really like the moral gray that they decided to explore? This was a fantastic way to do it, and talk about a phenomenal reboot of an older series. This is a lesson for the animation studios to really take a look at how reboots are done. I give both this side and the whole series a 5 because this is a recommended. I would definitely put this in my top 20 of all time, because this is something that like, especially if you know anything about the original, definitely worth taking a look at.
It's a 4 out of 5 for me. A very enjoyable watch, very enjoyable story. It had some wonky stuff in it that's definitely not perfect, but it kind of like Jason said, I enjoyed my way all the way through it. Even with my nitpicks of the ending, the fact that it does end and it resolves everything, it brings things to its conclusion. That's really satisfying. With the anime that we watch today, it always feels like everything's going to its 100th light novel, and everything just always has a story it wants to tell for years. And it was nice to have a full, complete story again, and I really enjoyed that. Nothing open-ended, really. Hopefully there's no season 2. So 4 out of 5 for me. The next anime that we are watching is The Rise of the Shield Hero, the first 12 episodes. We've been wanting to watch that one for a while. It is an isekai, but we've heard really good things about it, so we're gonna let that slide.
We're in every few anime is an isekai anime podcast.
To be fair, every few anime is an isekai, and there's not.
I know,
we're just following the trend. We can't do much about it.
But we did put some space in between our last couple of isekai.
We did.
So.
I didn't hear. We're gonna watch an isekai and throw up instantly, so we're okay.
I may instantly gag.
If you would like to comment on Dororo, you can leave a comment on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, our email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, and we'll get back to us. Thank you guys for listening and commenting. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Rate us if you're on iTunes. Give us a swipe left if you're on Tinder. I don't know where this podcast goes.
Our RRS goes everywhere.
All right, let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.